You slept 8 solid hours last night. You ate a healthy breakfast. You drank your water and even took your expensive vitamins. Yet by 11 in the morning, your body feels like it is made of wet cement. You are not lazy. You are not physically sick. You go to your doctor and they draw your blood. A week later, they tell you, your thyroid is fine, your iron is fine. Everything looks perfectly normal on paper, but you know something is deeply wrong. Your body knows they are missing something. There is an ancient Japanese word for exactly what you have. It is a centuries-old concept. It describes precisely what is happening inside your nervous system right now. 1,000 years ago, Japanese monks and samurai identified this specific state of exhaustion. They knew it was fundamentally different from normal tiredness. Once you understand this single word, you will never confuse this kind of exhaustion with a lack of sleep again. And you will never try to fix it by drinking another cup of coffee. The word is Kizukare. In the next few minutes, I am going to tell you exactly what this means. I will show you what is actively happening to your brain and nervous system when you feel this heavy, invisible weight. And I will share 3 ancient Japanese practices that can reverse it. Most of them take less than 5 minutes. Stay with me because one of these practices changed everything for me. Let me start with what Kizukare actually means. The translation matters. The word breaks into 2 distinct parts. First is ki. For over 1,000 years, Japanese culture has used ki to describe life energy, the spirit. But if we look at this through the lens of modern biology, ki is not mystical. It is the bioelectrical energy running through your central nervous system. It is the voltage of your brain and your nerves. The second part is tsukare. This simply means exhaustion. Together, Kizukare means spirit fatigue. It means your nervous system has run out of battery. Here is where the language gap becomes a massive problem. In English, we have exactly one word for this feeling: tired. If you run a marathon, you are tired. If you stare at a glowing screen for 10 hours, you are tired. If you navigate a stressful argument, you are tired. We group all these wildly different biological states into one single bucket. The Japanese language does not make this mistake. They distinguish between physical tiredness and the tiredness of the spirit. They know that physical exhaustion requires sleep, but nervous system exhaustion requires an entirely different cure. Modern science is finally catching up to what these ancient minds knew. Researchers studying unexplainable fatigue in working adults keep finding the exact same pattern. When they put people suffering from Kizukare in a lab, their physical markers look perfect. Their muscles are recovered. Their metabolic markers are stable. But when they look closely at the nervous system, the truth comes out. They find severe autonomic dysregulation. Specifically, they find what neuroscientists call a blunted cortisol awakening response. Think of cortisol like the ignition switch in a car engine. It is not just a stress hormone. It is what wakes you up. When you open your eyes in the morning, cortisol is supposed to spike sharply to start the engine. But in someone with Kizukare, that ignition switch is worn down. The engine barely turns over. You wake up feeling heavy, slow, and unmotivated, even after 8 solid hours in bed. Western medicine has no vocabulary for this specific condition. They check your blood, they check your heart, and they send you home with a clean bill of health. But they are looking in the wrong place. Your body is perfectly fine. Your nervous system is completely depleted. Kizukare used to be a rare condition. 1,000 years ago, it was a problem reserved for extreme circumstances. It struck people dealing with heavy grief, long illnesses, or incredibly demanding physical trauma. But something fundamental has shifted in our modern era. Today in Japan, there are specialized medical clinics entirely dedicated to mental fatigue. These clinics exist for one single purpose. They treat Kizukare, and the patients walking through their doors are no longer just the elderly. They are seeing patients in their 20s. The youngest case I heard about recently was a 19-year-old university student. She slept 10 solid hours every single night. Her diet was perfect. She had absolutely no underlying medical conditions. But when asked to explain her symptoms, she described her daily existence with a chilling phrase. She said she felt tired just from being alive. This is Kizukare in its modern form. It is an absolute epidemic of spirit burnout. And to understand exactly why this is happening to your body right now, we have to look at the work of an American neuroscientist, Dr. Bruce McEwen was a pioneer at Rockefeller University. He spent his career studying how the human brain and nervous system process stress. He coined a clinical term that perfectly explains the exact biology of Kizukare. He called it allostatic load. To understand allostatic load, imagine you are wearing a backpack. Every time a major traumatic life event happens, it is like someone drops a heavy 50-pound brick into your bag. A sudden divorce, a lost job, a broken leg. You notice that massive weight immediately. You know exactly why you are struggling to walk forward. But allostatic load is different. It is not bricks, it is pebbles. It is the microscopic, invisible weight of daily modern existence. It is the biological wear and tear of 1,000 tiny hidden stress events that your conscious mind barely even registers. Let us look at exactly what happens inside your brain biology during an average morning. You wake up and glance at your phone. You see an email from your boss or a client. You do not reply to it, but you read it. In that split second, your amygdala perceives a tiny threat. Your brain signals your adrenal glands. Your body releases a microdose of adrenaline and cortisol into your bloodstream. A few minutes later, a social media notification pops up on your screen. Another microdose of adrenaline. You commute to work and navigate traffic. Another dose. You walk into the office or a coffee shop and force a polite smile for an acquaintance when you actually feel completely numb inside. To fake that simple social interaction, your brain has to work incredibly hard. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for logic and personality, has to burn extra glucose to override your true emotional state. It requires raw metabolic energy just to pretend you are fine. Every single notification on your screen, every tiny decision about what to wear or what to eat for lunch, every unread text message sitting in your inbox, every time you switch tabs on your internet browser, every single one of these events is another pebble dropped into the backpack. Your central nervous system is an ancient machine. It was beautifully designed by evolution to handle acute stress. It is built to run from a predator for 10 minutes, survive, and then rest for hours. It is absolutely not built to process thousands of microscopic, low-grade threats every single hour of the day. Think of your brain like a smartphone. You might not be actively making a phone call, but you have 70 different applications running quietly in the background. They are constantly searching for a signal. They are downloading data. They are slowly and silently draining your battery to zero. By 3 o'clock in the afternoon, your central nervous system has handled a massive volume of data. It has processed a staggering amount of invisible input. Your body has not moved. The physical work you did might have been just sitting in an ergonomic chair. Your physical muscles have done absolutely nothing. But your autonomic nervous system is crushed. It is suffocating under the allostatic load. The ancient Japanese understood this mechanism intuitively. They did not have brain scanners, but they knew that ki, your bioelectrical life force, could leak out through 1,000 tiny cuts. They knew that when your nervous system runs out of voltage to process these daily micro-stressors, it pulls the emergency brake. Your brain literally shuts down your conscious energy production. It forces you to feel heavy. It forces you to feel like wet cement so that you will stop moving and stop processing new information. This is why your doctor keeps telling you that you are fine. Your physical body is fine. It does not need more sleep. It does not need another cup of coffee. Your body is not tired from the physical work itself. It is exhausted from carrying everything at once. So how do we fix this? How do we stop the battery drain and restore our nervous system? This is where the Japanese have given us something incredibly powerful. These are not generic Western tips like drinking chamomile tea or forcing yourself to meditate for an hour. These are targeted neurological interventions. Practice number 1 is Datsuryoku. The word literally translates to letting the strength go. It is a conscious, systemic release of the body. In Western science, we call this a somatic drop. It is a forced down-regulation of your sympathetic nervous system. Most of us walk around all day holding microscopic tension in our bodies. We clench our jaw, we tighten our neck, we hold tension in our pelvic floor and our shoulders. You do not even realize you are doing it. But your brain notices. Your brain is constantly receiving signals from your muscles through afferent nerves. When your muscles are tense, they send a very clear electrical signal up your spinal cord. That signal tells the brain that you are bracing for an attack. It tells the brain you are in physical danger. As long as that tension exists, your brain keeps pumping stress hormones into your blood. Datsuryoku breaks this feedback loop immediately. You sit down. You force your shoulders to drop completely. You unclench your teeth. You let your tongue fall to the bottom of your mouth. You open your hands. You release every single muscle fiber at the exact same time. Clinical studies on this exact type of micro-relaxation are astonishing. When you practice this somatic drop for just 60 seconds 3 times a day, you force your body into a parasympathetic state. You actively lower your resting cortisol within 2 weeks. 60 seconds is all it takes to signal to your brain that the physical war is over. Practice number 2 is Komorebi. You might have heard this beautiful word before. It means sunlight filtering through leaves. But this is not just poetry. This is hard neuroscience. In environmental psychology, there is a concept called attention restoration theory. It explains exactly why our modern visual environment destroys our energy. When you stare at a glowing screen or read a document or focus on a problem, you are using active attention. Active attention requires your brain to aggressively filter out distractions. It burns massive amounts of glucose. Komorebi is the exact opposite. It triggers passive attention. You step outside. You find a spot where light is moving through the branches of a tree or rippling across a body of water, and you just watch it. You do not analyze it. You do not try to focus. When you watch natural repeating patterns, what physicists call fractals, something incredible happens inside your skull. Your brain waves physically shift. They move into an alpha state. More importantly, this passive attention deactivates your brain's default mode network. The default mode network is the part of your brain that constantly worries about the future and ruminates on the past. It is the engine of your anxiety. By simply watching sunlight filter through leaves for 5 minutes, you turn that engine off. You give your visual cortex a bath of soft, effortless input. Studies show that even 5 minutes of this specific passive visual attention can reduce markers of mental fatigue by up to 30%. It is a biological reset button for your brain. Practice number 3 is Hara Hachi Bu. You may know this as the famous longevity rule from the island of Okinawa. It is the practice of eating until you are only 80% full. But applied to Kizukare, this rule has absolutely nothing to do with food. It is about your cognitive and calendar bandwidth. It is the principle of allostatic buffering. In the West, we are obsessed with optimization. We want to pack every single hour of the day with productive tasks. We listen to podcasts at 2 times speed while answering emails on the treadmill. We run our nervous system at 100% capacity. But if a system runs at 100% all the time, it has zero margin for error. It leaves 0% for recovery. When you pack your schedule completely full, you block your brain's biological maintenance processes. Your brain has a waste clearance system called the glymphatic system. It clears out metabolic trash. Your brain also needs empty space for neuroplasticity, which is how it builds new connections. These systems cannot function if your bandwidth is maxed out. Hara Hachi Bu means you only schedule 80% of your day. You deliberately leave 20% of your nervous system unused. You say no to one meeting you could have survived. You leave one task unfinished. You allow empty time to just exist. This is incredibly uncomfortable for modern humans. Watching time pass without being productive feels like a failure, but that empty space is not wasted. That 20% margin is the exact space your nervous system needs to clear out the toxic waste of allostatic load. It is the space where your spirit actually breathes. These 3 practices, Datsuryoku, Komorebi, Hara Hachi Bu, when you combine them, you achieve what the ancient Japanese called returning the ki. You restore your bioelectrical energy. You heal the nervous system. Notice how radically different this is from the modern Western approach. When we feel exhausted, our culture tells us to add something. We are told to drink more caffeine. We take complicated supplements. We buy a heavy-weighted blanket or a more expensive mattress. We try to consume our way out of fatigue. The Japanese secret to healing is entirely about subtraction. It is not about doing more. It is about actively creating empty space. The most powerful part of this protocol is that it is completely free. You do not need a subscription. You do not need to buy a specialized biohacking device. You do not need to change your entire life. You simply need to give your central nervous system 5 minutes of exactly what it has been begging for. I want to be incredibly honest with you before you go. This concept is not a magical cure for everything. If you are dealing with severe clinical depression or a hidden medical condition, please see a medical professional. These practices do not replace actual medicine. But for millions of people, what we brush off as normal daily tiredness is actually Kizukare. We have simply been treating it the wrong way. If this video finally gave you a name for the invisible exhaustion you have been carrying for so long, do one simple thing for me. Leave a single word in the comments below. Kizukare. Leave that word, so I know this message finally reached the exact people who needed to hear it. Take care of your ki.